Welcome into special edition here from the Star in Frisco. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday and a Cowboys win. 27-20 over the New York Giants at AT&T Stadium in Week 13. We're going to break it down for you here with Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, and down there at the end, you might have seen him a couple different times throughout the Thanksgiving images and memories. That's big Nate Newton, one of John Madden's favorites. Even Jason Garrett talking about you during the night game. You had the Packers and the Dolphins, and who did you see on the big screen, Isaiah?
Big Nate, no.
You saw Nate Newton with Jason Garrett and company. I'm Kyle Youmans. Glad you're with us. It was a big win for the Cowboys, getting the job done and getting back on track at home. Barry Church, they won 2 games in the last 5 days to get things rolling in the right direction. How much has your confidence grown in this Cowboys team?
You know, I would say my confidence has grown a little bit. I mean, this team right now, especially these last 2 weeks, has shown the ability to play complementary football, and they've gotten W's because of it. I'm not saying that they're going to go on a run and win the rest of the games the rest of the season, but my confidence in this team has been growing.
Yeah, I'm tiptoeing up the stairs, and that's because the Dallas Cowboys are improving in certain facets of the game, but you just haven't seen it all come together, right? They haven't turned it into a green bean casserole yet and just throwing it all in one pot. They have done good in special teams one day, then another day it's offense, and another day it's defense. What we just saw most recently, the defense took care of business, and we can see more of that, and hopefully the other pieces can come together. You might have a nice little puzzle going forward.
My confidence maybe about 20%. You know, yeah, it's grown because the offensive line, even though they still have a mismatch of guys, they're playing better. Rico Dowdle is making good runs behind that offensive line, so it maybe 20, maybe 35.
Okay, well, I want to hit on that a little bit. Of course, the Cowboys win 27-20. They take down a bad Giants team. They're now 2-10. Like you talked about, it might grow the confidence a little bit, but how important was it to get a win at home after starting 0-5?
That's big. I mean, you want to get the fans involved. You want to get everybody coming back into the stadium. That was a big win, man. And as long as they run the ball with some authority, you know, Rico had 22 carries, 100 and maybe 12 yards, 13 yards, 5.4 carry. That's nice. And, hey, that gets the fans into it, and they keep your quarterback healthy.
Home field advantage is huge, and you want to try to win every game possible, obviously. Now they have back-to-back victories, and now the fans are a little bit more engaged, and they'll have a reason to want to come to the games outside of just wanting to see the facility. You don't want them to just come see AT&T Stadium. You want them to come to AT&T Stadium and see the Dallas Cowboys. And now the Dallas Cowboys are starting to give them a reason to come back in that building.
Yeah, without a doubt, this offense showed great balance, like you just mentioned. Rico Dowdle, 112 yards rushing on the day. But what impressed me the most about this offense, besides not taking or turning the football over, was CeeDee Lamb. He didn't have his greatest performance out there, but the secondary pieces, the Schoonmakers, the Tolberts, the Turpins of the world, they were able to step up and get the job done for this offense. So it's no longer just a CeeDee Lamb or bust. And if you can go throughout the rest of this regular season with that type of attitude, then I think it'll show dividends for this offense overall.
Well, and then the defense did their job as well. The pass rush starting to come alive for Mike Zimmer and company. They finished with 6 sacks in the win. That's tied for their most throughout the 2024 season. Barry, how important is it to continue that momentum and have Micah Parsons back in the fold to do so?
This is exactly what we've been waiting for this defense pretty much all season long, for them to be able to pin their ears back, play with a lead, and get after quarterbacks. They made Drew Lock seem like he was, seeing ghosts out there. He was running for his life the entire afternoon. You saw Overshown over there being able to make big-time plays, but the pass rush came alive, and they came alive in a big way.
They couldn't run the ball. They stuffed the ball. They stuffed the runners. And Mozzie had a nice day. All the defensive line played well. And when you get this pass rush going there with number 11,
Micah Parsons. That's a big one.
You got a special things going.
Yeah, no doubt. And, of course, he being back in the fold for the second straight game. When were the best 2 pass rushing abilities over the last couple of weeks? Probably when Micah Parsons was back in the fold. Now, who else isn't deserving or isn't getting the amount of credit that they deserve? We've got some under-the-radar Cowboys that we're going to give credit where credit is due right after this.
Special edition presented by AT&T is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
You know, I feel like at this point in the season, you know, especially early on, we had a lot of injuries. So, you know, guys had to step up early. And that's just been the story of our year. Unfortunately, you know, we had some more guys go down today. But the mindset is just, to step up. So, you know, everybody's on board. Everybody's, like I said, everybody's gaining that confidence. We have more time in the scheme now, later in the season. But, you know, we got to elevate. You know, now we're headed into these later months of the season. You know, we got to pick our game up even more.
There you have one of the leaders on the defensive side of the football, Eric Kendricks, saying the injuries are there. We got to pick it up as the season goes along. And we've got some guys that have certainly done that and maybe aren't getting the credit that they deserve. Let's go through it one by one. I want to start with Barry. Give me one guy that is under the radar, and you need to give credit where credit is due.
Well, the one guy, I got to give him his flowers is Schoonmaker, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. When I look at it, this guy at the beginning of the season was buried in the depth chart, wasn't able to kind of crack the depth chart out there, wasn't performing the way that he needed to. But these last two games, with Ferguson being out of the game with a concussion, he's been able to step up and take advantage of his opportunities. He's went out there, he's proven the ability to win against the one-on-one matchups. Against zone, he's been that security blanket for Cooper Rush out there. And to me, he has to work a little bit on his blocking. Nate will tell you about that. He got to work a little bit on his blocking. But overall, this guy's been taking advantage of his opportunities. And each game, he's gotten better and better, especially in the passing attack. So I got to give my boy a little bit of flowers.
Well, and it was a big thing to see a tight end in the end zone for the first time.
Yes.
He's still the only tight end to this point in the season that has caught a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
So Luke Schoonmaker, a big one to keep an eye on, and he's continuing to elevate his game. You need that out of a second-round pick from last year. Isaiah, who you got?
I'm going to go with the captain that we just saw in Eric Kendricks. I think Eric Kendricks is undervalued and underrated in terms of the public eye. I think the team understands how important he is, but obviously he was brought in to be the center and the pillar for the Mike Zimmer defense. He's been Mr. Consistent. I think he missed one game this year because of injuries. Outside of that, he's been a tackling machine. You don't see him making a bunch of sacks and all those big splash plays, but all he does is wrap his arms around guys and get them down to the ground, and he's the communicator that keeps this train moving for the Dallas Cowboys defense.
Well, and he's starting to communicate better, too, and I think these guys that maybe didn't understand the scheme early from Mike Zimmer are starting to see an uptick in the knowledge and the confidence in that scheme, and that's why you've seen the defense play pretty well over the last 4 weeks. What do you got, Nate?
I got Chauncey Golston. D-Law went down. They thought that we were lost, but this guy filled in. He's grown every game. He's got 2 sacks. He's got an interception. He holds the edge and allows those linebackers to run. So Chauncey Golston, that's my man.
I like that because he's been under the radar. Maybe the stats aren't going to jump off the page for Chauncey Golston, but he's had over 530 snaps. They're using him on the interior, they're using him on the edge, and they're using him to fill in some of those voids left behind by some of the injuries up front for the Cowboys. I think there's a couple other names you can mention.
I have an honorable mention, and that's Cooper Beebe.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Cooper Beebe is an unsung hero. He has done his job up front regardless of who he's faced, and he's faced some of the best the league has to threaten him.
I'm going to throw Mozzie Smith in there over the last month of the season. Former first-round pick, lots of criticism. He's played really well over the last 4 weeks, and he's gotten better in those 4 weeks as well. Second best outing of the year was in this pass matchup against the New York Giants. Keep an eye on Mozzie as he keeps taking a step in the right direction. When we come back, Cowboys games in the rearview mirror now for Week 13. Let's take a look at the NFC East. What do the standings look like, and how can the Cowboys get back in the mix?
This segment was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
Time dwindling in the 2024 season, and we've got plenty of action still left in the NFL slate, including in the NFC East. Alongside Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, and Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. Let's take a look around the NFC East. Here's what the standings look like going into the rest of Week 13. Of course, the Eagles lead the way. They won 7 straight games after starting 2-2. They've been on an absolute tear. Washington, who started 7-2, now looks human under Dan Quinn. Of course, the Cowboys handing them a loss last week, who have now won 2 straight of their own. And then the Giants just at the bottom of the division. I think we all have kind of seen what the Giants are going to be, and and the Cowboys are already past them as well. They've got 2 wins in hand over New York. Let's start with the Eagles at the top of the division. Nate, this is a team that's on an absolute tear. What have they done best to kind of steady the ship and take advantage of the early parts of the season?
Barkley, he is everything. He runs the ball, he catches the ball out of the backfield. He's been their heart and soul. So Saquon Barkley has been the stabilizing force.
Yeah, Saquon's done his thing, but that Vic Fangio defense is really balling out for them right now, and I think they're very underrated. Their defense up front is nasty, and their secondary is playing well also.
Yeah, and when you talk about the offense, what Barkley brings to the table, it forces defenses to crowd the box, and that leaves one-on-ones with the 2 guys on the outside, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and they've been able to take full advantage of that. That Eagles offense is something spectacular.
What about the Commanders? What's wrong with Dan Quinn and his ball club in D.C., Isaiah?
I think Cliff Kingsbury has a history of doing well in the first half of the season, and defensive coordinators figuring out how to stop him in the second half. I think that's what they're figuring out right now, and I think also offensively they've had some injuries, obviously with Brian Robinson Jr., and on the defensive line they're missing one of the big Bama boys.
You've heard it before, you heard it now. You cannot stop the run. You can get them the Commanders because you can run that rock on them.
That's kind of what Dan Quinn has struggled with throughout the years, right? Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. All right, what about the Giants? We talked about them at the bottom of the division. Are they moving on, Barry, to the future in New York?
Yeah, these guys already got their vacations booked for the postseason. I mean, when you look at this, they're down to their 3rd or 4th string quarterback. The organization has given up on this team. You see the locker rooms in shambles right now. They'll still go out there and fight hard. They got a good defense overall, but they just don't have the pieces all around to have anything competitive when you talk about the NFC or the NFL as a total. Neighbors is a great guy out there, but overall they need more talent around the boards, and they just don't have it right now.
And then on the defensive side, you've got guys like Burns and Thibodeau that are playing at a high level, Dexter Lawrence at a high level, but you don't have a ton in the secondary as well. This has been a rough season in the Meadowlands for the New York Giants. When we come back, we talked about the Week 13 slate. There are some big games that Cowboys fans should keep an eye on going into the later games this weekend, including their next opponent, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, in a little divisional rivalry this week.
This segment was brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
It feels good. Now my focus is heading to the Bengals, understanding how they're going to attack us and, who they got. They got some dudes. Hopefully we get D-Law back and maybe, Trayvon. So hopefully we fully loaded, and I know they're going to be fully loaded. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Things looking up for the Cowboys as they head into Week 14. They've got a long break. They get to face the Bengals on Monday Night Football next week after, of course, playing on Thanksgiving in Week 13. So long break. They get to watch some football this week. Here's some games that you could watch as well as the week goes on. Here are some of the games that I want you to keep an eye on. These are 3 different games. The Steelers at the Bengals. That's a division rivalry, and the Bengals, of course, the next opponent for the Cowboys. The current top runners, front runners in the NFC East, the Eagles on the road against Baltimore. That's going to be a fun matchup on CBS.
Battle of the Birds, baby.
And then, of course, the Sunday Night Football matchup. The 49ers, if they lose on the road in the snow against the Buffalo Bills, they're also at 5-7, as both teams will try and end the season strong to get into the hunt for the wild card round. Barry, I'll start with you on Steelers and Bengals. What about this Bengals team gives you confidence that they could take down the Steelers?
The offense, and they got one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. You're talking about Joe Burrow. I mean, he got a guy in Jamar Chase out there that's exceptional wide receiver out there, and he seems to always have that it factor. No matter how far they're down or how many touchdowns they have to score, he always finds a way to keep this game or keep that team relevant. But that defense is horrendous out there, so we'll see what they can do against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Joe Burrows, man, I love him to death. I'm always going against Barry about this cat, man. Because he like Herbert,
yeah, my guy.
Chargers, but man, as long as you got that guy, Jamar Chase, you got a chance to win.
All right, what about the Eagles and Ravens? Isaiah, I know you keep an eye on all of these teams. How many MVP candidates are in this game?
Three of them.
Ooh.
Yeah, buddy. You got the quarterbacks, okay, and then you have Saquon Barkley. And Derrick Henry. There's really 4 of them.
Really 4 guys.
Really 4. You can throw Jalen Hurts in there, possibly at the bottom of the conversation. But Lamar Jackson is an absolute beast. He has, he's leading the league in all the statistical categories for quarterbacks. And then this is the battle of the running backs. And both of these boys are dogs, and both of these guys are guys that Cowboys had a shot at.
Yeah, this is definitely a battle of the backs. I mean, right now you got explosive Saquon Barkley that seems to be able to just rip these 70-yard runs off each and every game, and you got a guy that's a battering ram and Derrick Henry out there that just wears defenses down. But to me, I think it's going to come down to these quarterbacks. Who's going to perform better? Who's not going to turn the football over? When you talk about Hurts and Lamar Jackson, both are special in their own way. This is going to be an exciting game to watch.
All right, what about Bills and 49ers, Nate? You talk about turning the football over. Both of these teams have gone in different directions in that regard. Josh Allen's playing at an MVP caliber level as well. Can the 49ers find their rhythm on the road?
Nah, if they're playing in Buffalo, game over.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, Buffalo is strong, and they're getting stronger. They actually have some injuries. Once they get Cook back and some of the other weapons, Mark Cooper on there consistently, they're hard to stop now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a snowstorm up there. Buffalo does great in the weather conditions, man. I see them taking this game out of control for the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to use Cook on the ground as well. So, to me, this will be another loss for the 49ers. And what a turn of events. 5-7, man.
Yeah.
That's ugly.
Yeah, both San Francisco and Dallas possibly at 5-7, but going in different directions to get there. The Cowboys have won 2 straight, and the 49ers dealing with Brock Purdy's injury, with a couple other guys that are out for a significant number of time. And then the Bills in a wide-open AFC, they still look like contenders on that side of the conferences as well. When we come back, Thanksgiving also in the rear-view mirror. We take a look back on what the Thanksgiving it was for Micah Parsons, for our families, and everybody involved. More special edition right after this.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Special edition presented by AT&T was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, man, you know what's coming up. The greatest time of the year as far as food. You know, we're talking about Thanksgiving. What is your favorite Thanksgiving memory?
Macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
That's my memory every year. Flashbacks. That's my favorite food, so that's what I kill.
So no matter what, the first thing you go for, you don't go for the dressing, turkey, no pie, no nothing. It's macaroni and cheese. Why is that?
Cheese, I got like half the plate. You guys know the favorite plates? You got to double up with the favorite plate. You got to put that whole, the big part is all macaroni and cheese. You got to get another plate for all the meat.
From 2007 to 2024, nothing really changes, right, Isaiah?
I'm consistent. That's all you need. I'm consistent.
It is.
I love it. Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton, and Kyle Youmans as we wrap up a Thanksgiving edition of Special Edition. Now, did you have half the plate as the smoked mac and cheese? You brought us some great mac and cheese on game day. We got to share it on pregame live, have some fun with it. Did you take it home to the family? Everybody get a little bit?
You know what? No, I didn't have to take it home. You know, so I actually sent it with Barry Church, whatever we had left over. But I always make
Wait,
3.
Barry got the leftovers?
Barry got the leftovers.
All of it.
I always make 3. I make one smoked one baked one, and then I bring a smoked one here to the facility. So for all my studio staff.
I love it. I love it. Was it the best thing you had on the plate this week, Barry?
Yeah, this week, I mean, I can't lie. That mac and cheese was on point. Whatever seasoning my guy puts in there, I mean, it's chef kiss, man. That thing was delicious.
Next level. What's the best dish you've ever had, Nate? I know you've had a lot of turducken at the end of the game and everything, but what's the best thing?
I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear this.
Oh, here we go.
But it was my mom, rice and chitlins back in the day, man. Yeah, it's been hits a little hot sauce, man, a little cornbread, you know, put your little cabbage off in it. Oh, yeah, but now, this boy brought some mac and cheese that was elevated. His smoked turkey was off the chain. I want to, hey, man, give me a bump, man. Yeah, you did what you had to do,
So you don't
man.
like Nate's dish?
I don't like his choice of dish, but I understand and I understand the historical reference of it, so I'm going to leave it alone.
Okay. Have you guys ever tried the turducken that's become the
I
tradition?
want to.
Yeah? It's
Louisiana,
like
baby.
duck and
But the thing is, like,
turkey
how do you know which bird you're eating?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
Don't
good
matter.
question. That's a good question.
It don't matter. It's
It
still
tastes
good,
bro.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a long time off for the Cowboys, but not a long time off for us. We'll be back next week with more special edition leading you into Monday Night Football as the Cowboys welcome in the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 14. For Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. We'll see you next week here from the Star in Frisco.